Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Now, Kolkata flyover tragedy continues to be our top focus. Now, the office of the builder has been sealed. We'll get you all the details on that and also all the updates from Washington, where Prime Minister Modi spoke eloquently on nuclear terrorism in his intervention during a White House dinner hosted by President Barack Obama. All the details to follow. Let us begin with the headlines this morning. 21 dead as under construction flyover in Kolkata caves in. Mamata Banerjee oversees rescue operations as centre offers all assistance. Construction company calls it an act of God. Political blame game begins. Prime Minister Modi advocates international cooperation against terrorism during intervention at a summit dinner ahead of nuclear security meet in Washington. Says nuclear security must remain an abiding priority. China once again blocks India's bid at the UN for banning Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar. China's move was just hours before deadline to UN committee considering ban. Met Department warns a warmer than normal temperature this summer. Heat wave conditions likely over central and northwestern parts of the country. And India knocked out of the ICC World T20 Championship as West Indies sealed their final berth with a thrilling 7-wicket win at Wankhede. The top story this morning. Now, 21 people have died and 88 injured after an under-construction bridge in Kolkata caved in. Now, the NDRF is engaged in rescue efforts as many more people are feared buried under the debris. An FIR has been launched and the office of the construction company in Kolkata has been sealed. Political blame game, however, has also begun.
Under construction bridge over the busy Vivekananda Road and Tagore Street crossing spot in Kolkata caving in on Thursday.
सुबह ये 12 बजे घटना हुआ है। बहुत सारे ऑफिशियल और बहुत सारे ऑटो 4 सिलेंडर ब्लास्ट हुआ अंदर के।
सुबह का समय था, करीब 12:30 सवा 12 का करीब बज रहा था। सामान भी चल रहा था, सब कुछ वो आने जाने कर रहे थे। अचानक ही एक जोरदार का धमाका हुआ और पूरा ब्रिज नीचे की तरफ गिर गया और अचानक एक गुबार भर गया, धुएं का गुबार भर गया।
Locals rushing in for rescue first before teams of the state police, disaster management teams, CRPF, CRP and army men came in. 2 teams of the NDRF engaged in rescue ops. Anger among locals palpable.
ये फ्लाईओवर ये जो बन रहा है, एक अंधा आदमी को अगर कभी आप बोलोगे कि ये फ्लाईओवर का कंस्ट्रक्शन आप देखिए किस ढंग से बना हुआ है, ये तो गिरना ही था।
किसी चीज का ना एम्बुलेंस का ना ये इसका ऑक्सीजन का ना मिलिट्री फौज का ना पुलिस का किसी भी चीज का तो यहाँ पे सेफ्टी नहीं है।
An FIR has been lodged in connection with the collapse. The police have also sealed the office of the company that was constructing the bridge. The company called it an act of God.
Police already lodged FIR. Police already said, CP already said, they have locked their office also. Further law will take its own course. The technical committee has been set up along with Kharagpur ITI team because it's a technical subject. And also regarding this inquiry committee also been set up.
We already done almost 65-70% of the work is already over. Still the remaining 45% is supposed to complete and still in the process. Nothing has happened. Today the girders were missed, it seems. Still is in the process. One girder is missed, then second one also fell. And that's how the accident has taken place. It's nothing but a God's act.
West Bengal Governor K.N. Tripathi visited the spot where Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and other senior officials of the state government were overseeing rescue work. He has sought a report from the state government of the incident. Prime Minister Modi, who is in the US, called up Mamata Banerjee and assured all assistance.
यूएस में हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी हैं, उनका टेलीफोन मुझे भी प्राप्त हुआ है। कलकत्ता में जो ये हादसा हुआ है ब्रिज गिरने के कारण, उस पर उन्होंने भी अपनी संवेदना व्यक्त की है। उन्होंने कहा है कि और अधिक जो कुछ भी किया जा सकता हो इसमें केंद्र सरकार के द्वारा भी किया जाना चाहिए।
Despite the tragedy, political blame game over who is responsible has begun. Mamta Banerjee has said that the tender for the bridge was passed during the erstwhile left-front government and that the company has not provided her government details of construction plans despite reminders. While the Congress accused Mamta Banerjee, the left said it will reply to all the allegations by the TMC. The BJP has demanded a CBI probe accusing the government of corruption.
ये सबसे बड़ा जिम्मेदार है बंगाल की सरकार, क्योंकि ये जो ब्रिज है इनको हालात खस्ता होते जा रहे थे बहुत पहले ही, इसलिए यहाँ के लोकल लोग काफी शिकायत भी दर्ज किए हैं कि ये जो ब्रिज इनको सुधार करो, लेकिन ये सरकार अनदेखी किए हैं.
Today is not a day for blame game. Let the operations go on. Whatever may the Chief Minister say, we will answer it tomorrow. The prime task, the only priority today is rescue operations and the treatment. So let us concentrate on that.
वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का जो राहत के मामले में भी अप्रोच है, जो लोग घायल हुए हैं उनके मामले में भी जो एटीट्यूड है वो बहुत नॉन सीरियस है.
The construction of the 2.2-kilometer long flyover started in 2009 during the previous left-front rule.
The bridge named after Vivekanand was one of the pet projects of Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee when she came to power in 2011. This has been under construction since 2009. Opposition parties are alleging that the construction was not properly planned in Polbond, West Bengal. This is certainly going to be a big political issue against Mamata Banerjee. With camera person Jitendra, this is Pranab Goswami, Rajya Sabha TV, Kolkata.
Well, on to the other big story of the day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has strongly advocated international cooperation to tackle the threat of nuclear terrorism. During his intervention at the summit dinner hosted by US President Barack Obama, Prime Minister Modi said that nuclear security must remain an abiding priority. The Nuclear Security Summit, to be attended by more than 50 countries and 4 international organizations, will assess the threats of nuclear terrorism worldwide. India will also circulate its National Progress Report on nuclear security measures at the summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi laying out his vision of securing nuclear weapons. During his intervention on nuclear terrorism threat at Nuclear Summit dinner at White House, he emphasized on novel ways to tackle global terrorism. Modi underlined 3 contemporary features of terrorism. It uses extreme violence as theatre. He said terror has evolved. Terrorists are using 21st century technology. He said we are no longer looking for a man in cave, but hunting for a terrorist in a city with a computer or a smartphone. But the Prime Minister said our responses are rooted in the past. Third, he emphasized on state actors working with nuclear traffickers and terrorists presenting greatest risks. PM went on to say that terrorism was globally networked, but still we act only nationally to counter this threat. Drop the notion that terrorism is someone else's problem and that his terrorist is not my terrorist. PM Modi will be attending the 4th Nuclear Security Summit today. The biannual summit aims to improve nuclear security around the world.
And India has a very important role to play with respect to responsible stewardship of nuclear weapons and nuclear materials. India has a long record of being a leader, of being responsible.
We do hope that this cooperation will find a new strength, a new heights, will get further strengthened and deepened. And we share many concerns, particularly our concerns about terrorism, about concerns about the cyberspace and others, and we've been working together on that.
Earlier in the day, Modi met a team of scientists of Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory or LIGO project in Washington, D.C. that recently proved the existence of gravitational waves envisaged by Albert Einstein a century ago. The day also saw exchange of LIGO project agreement between Department of Atomic Energy and National Science Foundation.
The LIGO project has proved the gravitational waves theory based here in the US, but now they would like LIGO projects to be replicated in other parts of the world so that based on their geographical data also they can prove the gravitational waves theory. And the project in India, the cabinet has already approved an outlay of 1,200 crores for the project in India.
On the sidelines of the summit, Modi met his New Zealand counterpart John Key and held discussion on bilateral issues including trade and technology. He also met Indian community members in Washington. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Meanwhile, in a dramatic move, China has once again blocked India's bid at the UN to ban JEM chief Masood Azhar, the mastermind of the Pathankot terror attack. Now, just hours before the deadline, China requested the UN committee considering a ban on the chief of a Pakistan-based terror outfit, Jaish-e-Mohammed, to keep on hold the decision. After the attack on the Indian Air Force base at Pathankot on 2nd of January, India had written to the United Nations calling for an immediate action to list Azhar under the Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee. The submission was armed with strong evidence of the outfit's terror activities and its role in the Pathankot attack that killed 7 Indian military personnel. The UN had banned Jaish-e-Mohammed in 2001, but India's effort to ban Azhar after the Mumbai terror attack also did not fructify, as China, one of the 5 permanent members of the UN group with the veto powers, did not allow the ban, apparently at the behest of Pakistan.
It is an idea that we need to name and shame sub-terrorists, and if somebody is listed, he is named and shamed, even as we go after the bigger legal issue of their terrorist acts.
And now an update from Uttarakhand. Well, the Congress has decided to move court if the centre issues ordinance to authorize expenditure beyond 1st of April in Uttarakhand, which is under President's rule. Now, the Congress has said that the promulgation of any such ordinance would be unprecedented and unconstitutional. The party has accused the centre of being not concerned about parliamentary democracy and the constitution, claiming that the budget has already been approved by the Uttarakhand Assembly. Congress has said that the Speaker has declared so, and there has been no petition in any court against it, nor has anyone approached the court. The centre, on the other hand, has defended its decision, saying that there is a constitutional breakdown in the state that forced the centre to take that decision.
ऑर्डिनेंस इशू हो रहा है इसलिए क्योंकि वो चाहते हैं कि किसी तरीके से ये vote on the floor of the house nahi ho. We are going to challenge it because it is completely unconstitutional.
The state is not able to get the appropriation bill, thereby creating a constitutional crisis. From 1st onwards, tomorrow onwards, people will be left with no salaries and no developmental work also, because without appropriation you cannot withdraw money. So the government of India stepped in on the basis of the governor's recommendation.
In Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Subhash Chandra Bose gave a revolutionary edge to India's freedom struggle. Netaji, as he was popularly known, was elected Congress president twice, but left the organization in 1939 following differences with Mahatma Gandhi. He founded the Forward Bloc and the Kisan Sabha before leaving for Singapore to organize the Indian National Army. After failing to secure Soviet Union support for India's freedom struggle, he joined hands with Germany and Japan to fight the British. His slogans Dilli Chalo and Jai Hind energized millions of youngsters in India. Bose went missing in 1945 after a plane crash in Taiwan.
Welcome back. Now, a high-level committee set up by the Union government to review the status of women in India has sought a ban on the practice of oral, unilateral and triple talaq or divorce, as well as polygamy. The assessment of family laws is a part of a voluminous report submitted by the panel last year. On Monday, while hearing a plea on divorce norms, the Supreme Court had directed the centre to produce the report within 6 weeks. The report backs the demand for a ban, saying that such talaq renders wives extremely vulnerable and insecure regarding their marital status. The panel has recommended specific amendments to the Dissolution of Muslim Marriages Act of 1939 and also suggested introducing provisions to provide for interim maintenance. The report states that payment of maintenance to wife and children must be made mandatory in the event of a separation or divorce. It also suggests changing several gender discriminatory provisions under the Hindu and Christian laws as well.
हम चाहते हैं कि मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ जो हमारे कुरान शरीफ की जो शरीयत है उसी के मुताबिक सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हमारे अदालतें हमारी बहनों को, हमारी औरतों को अगर अदालतों में इस मामले जाए तो कुरान शरीफ के जो कानून हैं बिल्कुल उसी तरह हू बहू उतारा जाए। ओरल तलाक को बिल्कुल मना कर दिया जाए और अगर ओरल तलाक की बात हो तो एक टाइम में कह करके उसको बताया जाए, वजह बताई जाए कि हम क्यों तलाक दे रहे हैं और रिटर्न में दारुल कज़ा को या अदालत को या एक जिम्मेदार ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो बनाई जाए उसको दिया जाए कि हम तलाक दे रहे हैं तो किस वजह से।
News from the national capital now. Well, the Delhi Assembly has suspended BJP MLA OP Sharma from the House for the next 2 sessions. Sharma had, remember, allegedly made derogatory remarks against AAP MLA Alka Lamba. The BJP leader also refused to apologize to her, even though he had expressed regret for what he had said. After Sharma's statement, Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia proposed to suspend him instead of expelling him as suggested by the Ethics Committee. The Delhi Assembly's Ethics Committee had recommended Sharma's expulsion, calling him a habitual offender.
ये जो बात मैंने आज सदन में कही कि आपने अधूरे सेंटेंस के ऊपर ये सारी प्रक्रिया आप कर रहे हैं, ये गलत है। ये मैंने उनको भी कहा, लेकिन उन्होंने इस चीज के ऊपर कोई ध्यान नहीं दिया। लेकिन अब जब उनको ये लगा कि जो ये फैसला ले रहे हैं ये कोर्ट में एक दिन भी टिक नहीं पाएगा, तो वो एक कायदा नीचे उतर गए हैं और हम कोर्ट में जाकर इसको चैलेंज करेंगे।
वास्तविकता में ये है कि वक्तव्य से भी जब सेंटेंस पूरा ही नहीं हुआ और उस पर सजा इस तरह की तय कर देना, और पहले एक सत्र में बाहर कर चुके हैं, फिर 2 सत्र में, तो विपक्ष, छोटे से विपक्ष को भी और छोटा करने की कोशिश करते रहे हैं बार बार।
बहन शब्द का इस्तेमाल उन्होंने सिर्फ और सिर्फ अपनी कुर्सी को आज बचाने के लिए किया है। अगर सच में उनके मन में मेरे लिए सम्मान था या कहे गए शब्दों के लिए उन्हें पछतावा था, तो पिछले 4 महीनों में उन्होंने जरूर प्रयास किया होता, मुझसे मिले होते, बात की होती, मैं भी उनको समझ सकती, लेकिन ऐसा प्रयास हुआ नहीं।
Moving on in the bulletin now. Well, India will witness warmer than normal temperature this summer with heat wave-like conditions likely over central and northwest parts of India. The Met Department has said that this will be the first time that the seasonal temperature will be above normal by more than 1 degree Celsius over northwest India. There is also a high probability of a 76% of maximum temperatures in the core heat wave zone during this summer to be above normal. Now, some of the states that fall under the core heat wave zone are Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, West Bengal, Gujarat and Delhi. Now, IMD has also attributed the El Nino and increase in greenhouse gases to the above normal temperature. While 2015 was recorded as the warmest year since 1901, the country had also witnessed warm January and February, making it the warmest winter as well. The price of domestically produced natural gas has been cut by a steep 20%. Now, price of the natural gas has been cut to $3.06 per unit from $3.82 per unit, reflecting a fall in global rates. This is the third reduction since last year. The cut will bring down the price of CNG used in automobiles and piped natural gas used for cooking purposes. The domestic natural gas price is as per a formula approved by the government in 2014. Since the formula for driving natural gas was approved, prices have only seen a cut in the 3 price divisions. Earlier in the month of March, the government also approved pricing and marketing freedom from natural gas produced from difficult areas. The price cut will be effective starting today. Now, a quick check at all the election-related stories this morning. The Election Commission has said that although all voters in Bengal have issued electors' photo ID cards, there are 11 additional documents which will be treated as valid identity proof documents in polling booths. The list includes ID proofs such as a passport, a driving license, PAN card and pension document. Meanwhile, only passports are valid as alternative documents for NRIs. Election Commission appointed special surveillance teams and they have seized over 41 crore rupees illegal cash in the 5 poll-bound states, with a maximum 16.98 crore rupees confiscated in Tamil Nadu. It is followed by Assam, where 8.24 rupees crore in cash has been seized by the authorities so far. In order to keep a track of huge cash spent during the polls, the poll panel has also asked the agencies under the Finance Ministry to keep a strict vigil on the movement of unaccounted cash. AIADMK has mocked Vijay-Kant-led DMDK for announcing portfolios of its electoral partners if it won the 16th of May Assembly elections, saying that such a situation would not arise. AIADMK compared the announcement to a comedy scene. MDMK had earlier said that PWF leaders, including MDMK chief Vaiko, would be part of Vijay-Kant's cabinet. Portfolios that would be allocated to them if their front one was also mentioned. While MDMK chief Vaiko declined the offer, the CPIM said that such things could be discussed only after winning the polls. Let's bring you some international news now. And a Belgian court has decided that a Paris attack suspect Salah Abdeslam should be extradited to France. Abdeslam has been charged by Belgian prosecutors with participation in terrorist murder, and he faces a European arrest warrant issued by France. Now, this warrant is a procedure reserved for European Union member states that speeds up the traditional extradition process by preventing government authorities from blocking any transfer. Prosecutors said that France and Belgium would now discuss on how to proceed with the transfer. Investigators believe the attacks in Paris and Brussels were carried out by militants from the Islamic State network.
Dès lors que maintenant il a donné son consentement formel à l'exécution de son mandat d'arrêt européen devant un procureur fédéral et que ça a été acté dans un procès verbal par ce procureur fédéral, à notre sens, la décision de la Chambre du Conseil est même devenue sans objet, n'a plus d'incidence, parce que maintenant le procès verbal que détient le parquet fédéral suffit à le remettre aux autorités françaises et exécuter son mandat d'arrêt.
Let's get you some more international stories now in World Wrap. Thousands of Brazilians took to the streets in the defense of beleaguered President Dilma Rousseff, many carrying banners that said that there will not be a coup. Rousseff could be removed from power as soon as May if lower house of Congress approves her impeachment. She has pledged to fight the charges brought out by the oppositions of irregularities in the government budget designed to favor her re-election in 2014. Vietnam has named a woman for the first time to the influential role of chairperson in its rubber-stamped National Assembly today. Veteran lawmaker and senior Communist Party official Nguyen Thi Kim Nyagan was elected with 95.5% of the votes after a poll in the country's 500-strong legislative body early on Thursday. The Islamic State terror group claimed responsibility for a suicide attack that killed a policeman in Russia's Volta region of Dagestan. According to an IS statement distributed online, the group claimed that an IS fighter detonated his explosive belt at the checkpoint of the Dagestani police, killing and wounding several people. The attack came after Syrian troops backed by Russian forces secured an important victory against Islamic State by recapturing the ancient city of Palmyra in Syria. A volcano on the Alaska Peninsula erupted with little advanced warning over the weekend, spewing an ash cloud up to 20,000 feet high that prompted aviation warnings across the region. The Federal Aviation Administration issued a red aviation alert in response to the eruption of Mount Pavlov. The alert could affect local and regional air traffic as well as polar routes and cargo flights from Anchorage. Such events can last weeks or months. And on to cricket, it was a heartbreak for India in World T20 as West Indies stunned India by 7 wickets in the second semi-final in Mumbai. Virat Kohli's valiant innings went in vain as Simmons scored an unbeaten 82 to help the Caribbean side chase India's challenging total of 192. West Indies will now take on England in Sunday's final at the Eden Gardens.
MS is going to flip it.
Toss turned out to be a crucial factor in the second semi-final between India and West Indies as the hosts were put into bat at the Wankhede Stadium by the Caribbean side. Openers Rohit Sharma and Ajinkya Rahane, who was replacing Shikhar Dhawan, gave India their best start of the tournament, with the pair putting up 62 runs for the first wicket. That laid the perfect foundation for Kohli, who continued his rich reign of form by smashing an undefeated 89, his third unbeaten half-century in the tournament. Kohli struck 11 fours and a 6 in his 47-ball knock, putting on 66 for the second wicket with Rahane and an unbroken 64 with the third with captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni, as the hosts posted an imposing total of 192 for 2. West Indies fumbled early in the chase as they lost dangerous Chris Gayle and Marlon Samuels early.
What's happened here? This is a simple catch.
But opener Johnson Charles and Lyndall Simmons kept them in the hunt by keeping up with the run rate. The duo made it more difficult for the Indian bowlers as they were smashed around the park by the pair, who added 97 runs for the third wicket. Luck also failed the hosts as Simmons was caught twice, but both times the bowlers overstepped for no balls. Simmons made the hosts pay dearly as he led his team to a nail-biting 7-wicket win in the last over.
I think today was my day. Every cricketer has his day, and today was my day. I had a bit of luck on my side. I ride my luck, and things went the way I wanted it.
It was a bad toss to lose. We lost the toss when we started batting. By the time our first innings got over, and after the break when we went into bowl, the first few overs were fine, but after that there was considerable amount of dew, which meant the spinners couldn't bowl how they would have liked to bowl. It was coming on nicely and the ball got wet. So the difference between the first innings and the second innings when it comes to the surface was too much.
The 2012 champions will now take on England in the Sunday's final at the Eden Gardens. England had won the tournament in 2010 and both teams will look to conquer the World T20 for the second time. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
They are delighted.
Let's get you some more sports stories in Sports Wrap. Defending champion Saina Nehwal and two-time World Championship bronze medalist PV Sindhu advanced to the quarterfinals of the Indian Open Super Series. Saina Nehwal saw off Nitachon Jindapol of Thailand in straight sets 21-19, 21-14, while PV Sindhu had to toil hard for her three-set victory. World Championships bronze medalist Shiv Thapa became the first Indian boxer to qualify for Rio Olympics by entering the Asian qualifying tournament's final in China. He will face second seed Chachai Butti of Thailand in the final. However, it was a heartbreak for Mary Kom, who went down to her Chinese opponent in the semi-finals. Mary Kom has another chance, however, of qualifying for the Rio Games during the World Championships in the month of May. And world number one, Novak Djokovic eased into the semi-finals of the Miami Open with a 6-3, 6-3 victory over Thomas Berdych. Djokovic will next face Belgium's David Goffin, who defeated France's Gilles Simon. The Serb has improved his record to 26-1 this year, with his only defeat in Dubai when he was forced to retire due to an eye infection. That's all in this edition of Breakfast News, but news and updates continue on your channel. Thanks for your time.